morning, viewer. Welcome to our Govt. TV. Here's the breaking news. Yes, the Finance Ministry on Friday dismissed the criticism of inflated GDP, saying it has followed the consistent practice of using the income side estimates to compute economic growth. And stressed many international agencies have revised upwards their forecast after seeing the first quarter data. The critics, the ministry said, should have looked at other data like purchasing managers, indices, bank credit growth, increase in capital expenditure and consumption pattern to assess the growth. India's real GDP growth was 7.8% on year basis in Q1 FY24 as per the income of production approach. As per the expenditure approach, it would have been lower. So a balancing figure statistical discrepancy is added to the expenditure approach estimate. This discrepancy are both positive and negative. Over time, they wash out, the ministry said on a long post on X. In fact, in financial year 2023 and financial year 2022, the statistical discrepancy was negative, and in other words, growth as per the income approach was lower. The ministry said, adding it would have been higher than the 7.2% reported for financial year 2023 and higher than the 9.1% reported for financial year 2022 using the expenditure approach. Former Chief Economic Advisor Aurobindo Subramanian in an article argued that India's GDP is not measured from the expenditure side rather than productivity side. Even the principal opposition party Congress earlier in the day alleged that the real GDP numbers may be inflated as they do not accurately reflect the impact of inflation on GDP growth. The ministry said India consistently uses the income side approach for calculating GDP growth for various reasons. It does not switch between the two approaches depending on which one is favorable. As for nominal GDP growth being lower than real GDP growth, this is a new bogey being spread to discredit the GDP numbers and indicate that underlying economic activity is quite weak. Both do not stand up to scrutiny, the post said. Observing that India's GDP deflator is dominated by the wholesale price index, the ministry post said WPI peaked in the first quarter of 2022-23 due to the oil and food price increases in the wake of the war in Ukraine and supply side disruption. Prices began to come down from August 2022 onwards. Hence, WPI is now contracting year to year. It will soon pass once the statistical base effect disappears, it said. Behind the report, Govt. TV, Delhi, Bharat.